What is up, guys? Welcome on back to the news with TK. And I apologize in the advance if you hear all the freedom flying overhead, but the Raptors are outside today. In today's video, we're going to talk a little bit about the China deal, how it came together, going over some different news clips, and then discuss what that means for you, me, and how it moves forward. So welcome on back to the news with TK. So yeah, if you didn't know, Secretary Bessent headlined and brokered the current pause that we have in tariffs with China. The market has exploded in a positive manner, up over 1,100 points yesterday. I think it's down like 100 points at the time when we were recording this video, but more. I think it'll turn around before the end of the day, just me personally. But it took a lot for this to get going. And what's funny and what you'll see here in the next clip is all of the stuff that went on behind the scenes. Remember when the legacy media kept saying, oh, they're not talking, oh, they're not doing anything. The Korean media caught the Chinese officials at the U.S. Treasury. Duh. Before we had this meeting in Switzerland. And without further ado, let's go ahead and get into this Laura Ingraham clip and let some of the trade representatives break down exactly how this went down.
Or a year ago. The contrast could not be clearer. And that's the angle. And now we're going to take you inside these China trade negotiations. We're joined by U.S. Trade Rep Jamieson Greer for his first interview since returning from those high-stakes meetings with Chinese officials in Geneva. Mr. Ambassador, it's great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, in the last week, we went from China not coming to the negotiating table to now getting this pause and what we hope is ultimately a real deal. And Secretary of the Treasury, Scott Bessent, told us last week that this meeting was going to be about de-escalating. So take us inside and what really happened to get us to this moment.
Well, thanks, Laura. It's great to be here, too. I'm fresh off the plane from Geneva, so I'm happy to give you insight into all of this. The first thing to understand is that there's been a lot of work behind the scenes that went on before we had these meetings, outreach, official and unofficial, between the two sides as we were feeling each other out, seeing if there's a way to move forward. Remember, when President Trump declared reciprocal tariffs on April 2nd, he assigned China a tariff of 34%. And everyone else said that they wanted to negotiate with us. They did not retaliate or did not implement retaliation. Everyone except for China. China went ahead and they implemented 34%. The president needed to make sure that his action was going to work, so he had to adjust it again upwards. And then China started escalating. And so that's why we got to the point of needing to have a heart-to-heart Chinese side, and why we put in so much work to get there. And this weekend had a very pragmatic outcome.
Well, the Global Times, which you know is the mouthpiece for the CCP, wrote today that this also shows that through the fight and talk during this period of time, the U.S. now has a deeper understanding of the correct way to deal with China. Mr. Ambassador, not only that comment, but a lot of headlines, I know you've seen them, that this constituted the administration backing away from an untenable tariff position, and that y'all were forced back on your heels by the Wall Street response and by the business response to what these tariffs were doing to some of their critical goods that they needed to manufacture here in the United States.
Well, Laura, the critics, we keep disproving them so quickly, they just can't keep up. Remember, just like I said, the president imposed a 34% tariff on China originally and very quickly moved to a 10% pause on the world. And by the way, his entire campaign, he said he wanted to put a 10% global tariff on the world with higher tariffs on China, around 50, 60%. And guess where we are today? All in on China, it's about 50%, and it's 10% all the world. So he's doing exactly what he said. The only reason that the tariffs went so sky high to begin with was because of Chinese retaliation, which was disproportionate and inappropriate. But of course, we were able to get together with the Chinese, have very clear-eyed and realistic discussions with them to get things back to where we need to go. So the president's plan is being carried out exactly how he wanted it to be.
I want to get to that 50% and how you arrived at that in a moment. But your friend, former Treasury Secretary Larry Summers, worked in Obama administration and for Clinton, of course, had some comments on CNN today about the deal. Watch.
It's President Trump who blinked. China didn't make any consequential or significant change. Sometimes it's good to blink. When you make a mistake, it's usually best to correct it and retreat, even if it's a little bit embarrassing. So I applaud the actions that were taken over the weekend. I credit Secretary Bessent for his leadership, which he showed over the weekend.
China expert, now someone you know well, Gordon Chang, also said this is essentially a win for China and that all these Chinese goods are still going to come into our country where ours remain shut out from their markets. Mr. Ambassador, a lot of our friends are skeptical about this. I'm not trying to be a, naysayer here, but what's going on?
Well, again, remember, President Trump, when he imposed tariffs on the world, China just being one part of that, the intent was to have tariff levels that drive down the trade deficit. Now, remember, China really was the first target of President Trump in 2018. He imposed tariffs of about 25% on most goods coming in from China, including on steel and aluminum and a host of other high technology products. Those were still in place. Earlier this year, he put on tariffs of 20% on fentanyl. Then he put on the 34%. And to be clear, that 34% could still happen, right? China has now qualified for the pause, and so it has a 10% tariff and has a 90-day pause to negotiate with them. But if things don't work out, those tariffs can go back up. I think the Chinese are really focused on a deal, and they want to move forward constructively, and that's why they're now able to, have the 10%. But all these measures from before are still in place, and so
you're counting
when I hear
those.
people,
yeah. So you're to be clear, you're counting.
Well, they apply.
Right? Of course they are,
yes.
And we support them 115%. We support them, but you're counting that when you get to 50, you're counting the old tariffs that were in place that Biden didn't lift, correct?
That's right, because we have a host of measures in place on China. That's exactly right. And so when you look at the world, President Trump has imposed significant tariffs on China, substantially more than they have. And this exercise over the past weekend was focused on that reciprocal tariff matter where the Chinese escalated so quickly and the president matched them. All the other measures, we have a lot of complaints about China. They have things we do they don't like. Those are things to discuss in the future potentially.
Our goal is to get jobs in this country, President Trump's goal, jobs in this country, and reduce that trade deficit. So that's what we've been focused on I have for like 25 years. So this is what I care about deeply, deeply. Now, it's unclear, Mr. Ambassador, in the announcement today, whether China has lifted or has pledged to lift restrictions on its exports of things like rare earths, magnets, other industrial goods that are essential for U.S. manufacturers to have access to. What's the story about those? Because people keep asking me specifically about the magnets and all of those other critical materials.
Yep, the Chinese, they have agreed to remove those countermeasures. So when the administration put the 34% on China, China retaliated with 34%. Plus other countermeasures like the kinds you talked about. And therefore, our mission this weekend was not only to get the tariffs down to a more rational rate, but also to require the Chinese to remove their countermeasures, which they've agreed to do. And guess what? If they don't do those things, we're going to be back in a different situation. But I expect they will remove them.
So it just shows again, look, I guess TDS is like a real thing, this Trump derangement syndrome. You don't have to like you don't have to like the guy, but you have to respect the fact that he's actually getting things done. He's putting people into positions to be successful i.e., and get America to be successful. So currently, right now, all of the rare earths, all the other stuff that was shut down that we couldn't get, we're now able to get back. We have a 10% baseline tariff of everything that we send to China, which is better than what it was before this negotiation started. And we're keeping a 30% tariff on everything China brings in. The current deal where it is right now, the pause as they, finalize other deals and terms is great. And it just goes to show the legacy media is retarded. They're just retarded. And then here's the thing I saw too, right? So as this deal happens, right? This deal gets done, the current agreement on pausing tariffs, right? And the first thing one of the legacy media jackoffs do in the White House press room is, well, is your reversal on China, does it look like weakness, or does it look like, you've changed, it's just like, so the country gets a win and you're trying to make it a loss? Nah. This is the kind of Mickey Mouse crap that continues to go on and why the legacy media is dead. If you're wondering why there's an explosion of news channels on YouTube, it's because people are looking for credible sources, credible opinions, people that are not trying to blow smoke up people's asses. And unfortunately, the legacy media doesn't get it. I just saw some stats yesterday that said, do you know that there's more ads ran on news channels on YouTube, meaning more funding, more money exchanges hands on advertising on YouTube for news channels like this than the legacy media combined? That should say a lot. Let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. Give the video a big thumbs up if you like what we do. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. And as always, stay petty, my friends.